All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining another DevTest Community Webcast. Today we're going to be covering what's new in TDM 4.2. We have the product management team on the phone today. They're going to be giving a presentation, a demo, and then we'll have a Q&A session as well. If you have any questions as we're going through today's session, you can feel free to enter them into the Q&A box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Or we'll also be opening the line for verbal questions at the end of the session. So if you have a question that you'd rather ask over the phone, you can just hold it until the end, and we'll open it up before we close the call out today. I'm now going to hand the call over to Wilfred Mathernage on the product management team for TDM. Take it away, Wilfred.
Hi. Hello, guys. I am just going to share my screen, so you should be able to. So, all right, so
looks good.
So, brilliant. So, welcome all. So we got two people presenting today, and we want to go through the biggest features that we are bringing out in 4.2. You can find a full list of the features on our release notes on the docs page, which we'll share at the bottom. But we want to take you four of the biggest items that we have worked on for release 4.2. We got two people presenting today. We got Abhijit Mugali. He's the product owner out of our India office, who will be taking us first through simplified test data find and reserve, and then I will talk to virtual test data management, the enterprise mode for publish in TDM Data Maker that we have introduced, and a quick points on the TDM mainframe enhancements that we have implemented, where we use DB2 for file spreading to make your publishing easier. With that, I'm going to start quickly and hand over to Abhijit. Do you want to start?
Yep, sure, Wilfred. Thank you. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending upon part of the world you have joined in. Today, I'm going to be talking a bit about the enhancements which we have done for the simplified test data find and reserve functionality. We delivered the first cut of this functionality, if you recollect, in the TDM 4.1 release. So at that time, we GA'd the API portions, the REST interfaces, and we released the UI as a preview or a beta functionality. So in this particular release, we brought the UI functionality up to the GA standards, and we have released the entire test data management wizard, as well as the ability to find and reserve data as a fully functional GA functionality. So if you recollect, essentially simplified find and reserve enables you to manage the life cycle of finding and reserving the data. So it replaces and in a way enhances our test match functionality, which used to do portions of find and reserve. In case of find and reserve, essentially there are two sets of activities. There is a set of activity which is performed by the test data engineer. This includes creation of the test data model, which in turn involves the definition of the environments. And then these test data models get exposed to the testers. The testers have pretty much a similar experience to the one which they had with TestMatch, wherein they can log in and essentially find a self-service catalog, which has a list of tiles which enable them to find the data and later on reserve the data. Additionally, we have added the capability to release data, which was not there in the prior releases. In addition to GAing the functionality, we were able to add a couple of minor enhancements. This includes the ability to email the reservation details to the testers. In addition, we have also added the ability to download the reserved data as a CSV file. Wilfred, if you can switch over to the next slide, please. Thanks. In today's demo, I'll just give you a quick overview of the test data model. We had covered in depth of this in our prior community calls. Then we will do find of the data, followed by reserve of the data, which now sends an email notification. In there, I will also demonstrate the download to CSV function, which we have implemented newly in this release. And finally, we will release the data so that it is available to the other testers. So with that, let me just quickly share my screen. So, Wilfred, if you can pass on the presenter rights to me. Okay, great, thanks. So let me share my browser. So herein, I have logged in as an administrator. So essentially, this is a user within the TDE role, and hence you can essentially find a whole list of tabs enabled. So we are in the test data model tab, and as you can notice, there is already a test data model which has been created by the TDE. Let's go a bit into it just to see what are the constituents of this model. So essentially, this model is about finding orders from an order management system. It has an associated environment, which is a QA environment. And this QA environment essentially points to a SQL server. When we are editing the model, we can also add additional environments. So let's say I add a dev environment. The data source name remains the same, but now I can associate to another SQL Server connection profile, which represents the dev environment. So right now we have like a couple of environments which have been associated with our test data model. So moving on, we have also selected a model key. Essentially, this is the field which drives the reservation across the test data model. Here we have added order ID as the model key. And finally, we have also selected a set of fields which act as filter fields for the test data model. In addition to it, one of the other things which I have done to this model is I have enabled this to be displayed to the testers. So typically, this is off by default, which means that the TDEs themselves can go ahead and test the model. And whenever they are satisfied that the model works according to the specifications, they can enable this so that all of the testers of this project can see the model. Finally, wrapping up, in order to enable the mail server functionality or the email functionality, I have also set up the mail server details. Generally, it takes like a minute to come up, but I have set it up using my Office 365 account. Okay, so this is essentially the list of activities which has been performed by the test data engineer. Now let's log on to the system as a tester. Within this project, which is the order management, I have a tester with the name Adam. So essentially, I would log on to that. Since tester is a limited role within the system, he can only see a subset of the items. The self-service catalog essentially consists of a list of tiles. So I have deselected all projects so that it just displays the tiles which are associated with the order match product. Sorry, was there a question? Okay.
I don't think so. I didn't see any in the queue.
Okay, sure, Melanie. So let me click on Find Orders. So this enables the tester to select a particular environment and provide a filter criteria. In this demo, I will select a QA environment and I'll do a find data against it. If needed, I can also select a filter. So in this case, let me just select a filter criteria and then do a find data. So I get back a set of results. So I can, again, browse through these results. I can select and deselect the columns which are needed. And finally, when I'm happy, I can select one or more of these and reserve them for my particular test case. So we automatically populate the test case, the name of the reservation. Primarily, it consists of an aggregation of the tile name, which in this case is find orders, followed by the environment and the timestamp. But this field can be used to specify, let's say, a test case name or any other suitable identifier. So I'll leave it as it is and click on OK. So in this case, a reservation job is created, and essentially I can see it. I can see a list of records which are reserved for this particular reservation. In addition to this, in this release, you would also get an email notification, which is somewhat similar to this, wherein it has the name of the reservation. This is the one which I created a while ago, plus the environment, the details on the model, as well as the project, plus the list of IDs which have been reserved against this. In addition to this, we also attach a CSV, which essentially consists of the order IDs which have been reserved. Similarly, you can get this CSV by hitting this download button, and the downloaded CSV essentially contains the same order IDs which you can see on the screen. One other enhancement which we incorporated as part of the email functionality was to allow email templates. So if you look at the templates which we ship out of the box, they contain the CA logo plus certain additional informations. One of the requests has been to allow the customers to customize this email so that they can add their own specific logos and descriptions. So what we have done is we have allowed the ability to edit the template. So this is the out-of-the-box template, but we also allow you to add your own logo and additional descriptions if needed. So that was like a quick tour of the find and reserve functionality. We have many other enhancements planned in the coming releases, which we will be sharing across on the subsequent calls. I saw that there was a question which I want to quickly address. I think it was, what does version number in the CSV mean? Essentially, it means the version of the project. So right now, I use the order management project, which was version 1.0. Similarly, you can have versions of the model. So essentially, it reflects the version of the project. Hope that answers the questions. With that, I'll hand it over back to you, Wilfred, for the next functionality.
There are two items in the Q&A.
Oh, okay. So, yep, sure. How do you connect to a specific schema in Oracle and DB2 in the connection profile? So this, in terms of the Oracle connection profiles, we are essentially have a bit of the limitation right now. So which we are addressing in the subsequent release. That's like a known limitation. And like Abhinav pointed out, we have documented as of now this limitation in docOps, but we will be remediating that in the subsequent releases. Hope that answers the question. Wilfred, do you want to take it forward from here?
Sure. There's one more, but you can ask an answer offline. There's some comments regarding a known issue on the not having schema permissions on Oracle. But yeah, you can take that and then answer while I'm talking through. So that's fine. Great. Thank you. So I'll share my screen. All right, so I'm going to cover 3 items at the moment. First one is the virtual test data management, which probably is the bigger piece. Then we will talk through data maker changes that we have done to use a more enterprise class publish engine. And then we'll go through quickly with the mainframe changes we have done. So virtual test data management, you will see vTDM mentioned everywhere on the slides. That's basically what it stands for. You being able to provide your testers with instant access to all your test data. There is no need for you to subset. There is a very, very quick process that you need to follow to make these test data available to your testers. The clones that we will talk about, so how you do it is you are cloning your test data for your testers. The clones are markedly reduced in footprint size, and you can create unlimited amount of clones. So you're only limited by the amount of space that's available to you for memory for your system. That's what limits you as to how many clones you can create. In vTDM, test data engineers have a very easy way to go through and see the return on investment. They also have a very easy way to set up the environment for the testers. And testers have a very simple interface to create their clones and to consume their clones. I'll go through a couple of the demos now, and then we can have questions afterwards. So I'll go through how you register an appliance, how you get data onto the appliance, how to create checkpoints, how to share those checkpoints with your testers, how testers can then create clones. They can create manually attaching clones to databases and auto-attaching clones to databases. And then we'll go through about the deleting clones, file checkpoints as well. With that in mind, if I move to my other screen, you should be able to see this. So vTDM, we have created a landing page on its own because it was critical people understand where they start, what the steps are, and what they need to do. We have 3 easy steps that we have introduced here. So one is installing your system. So you need to install an appliance. You need to register that appliance into the portal. Next step would be being able to create gold copy checkpoints and enabling those checkpoints to be seen by the testers. And the third step would be then for testers to start creating the clones, deleting clones, and consuming the clones. So those are the 3 big steps that I will go through. Before we go there, for once we wanted to have something more introductory so that people find it easier to understand vTDM as a concept. It's always been difficult to explain when you come from a pure test data generation perspective what this is. This is not data generation, this is more data management in its true form. So there is a video available within the portal just in case you want to go follow it up and have a look. You can click on it, it takes you to the DocOps page where you can see a few of the other introductory videos we have as well for vTDM. How you get started, that's your landing page. When you get started, you get asked for an appliance and a password for your appliance. I already have an appliance available to me, so I can do that. I can register the appliance, and it was so that gives me the appliance. So that's basically as simple as it is to register your appliance within portal once you have deployed the appliance. So you can see your details. Obviously, I have played around with the appliance before for demo purposes, so you can see the details of some of the work I have done. But if you install it from a 0 implementation, obviously all of that will be 0, and then you can go with that. What you do as next step as a TDE is you add a file system, so you can call it product. You can add a second file system, call it customer. So this is just to hold your gold copy data so you can create your gold copy checkpoints and make them available to the testers. You can call it whatever you want as long as you understand in the first release in 4.2, we are limiting the number of file systems you can register to 2 only. This limit will be removed in future releases, but for 4.2 or the first release, we want to make sure that we have a working end-to-end system with some limitations, and this was good enough to limit with 2 file systems. When you create file system, obviously you can register, add data to it before you start registering checkpoints. So add data, you can hit there, add data. As a TDE, we give you clear guideline on what you need to do to add your data. It's the step-by-step guide there. You will notice it says Microsoft SQL in here because for the 4.2 release, we only support MS SQL. We will extend this for other databases in upcoming releases like Oracle DB2 mainframe, but in 4.2 GA, you will only have Microsoft SQL. It does not mean that you cannot use Oracle, for example. If you chose to manually copy the files from your Oracle database and virtualize that and allow your testers to manually attach their files to an Oracle system, it will still allow you to do that because there is the vTDM virtualization process does not care what file system the database system the files came from. So just to go through, so here you have the data, so I can show to you on the database I have. So if I opened up Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, I should be able to go to one of the projects that I have, and I can go into the databases. I can take the travel database. That's what they are. I can look at the properties of the travel database. I can see under files where those files are stored, which is under program files, Microsoft SQL data. So I could literally go there to grab those files. Before going there, obviously, I want to stop the file system. So I want to make sure that people are not actually editing the files in the file system. So I can go to travel and I can go to tasks and obviously take it offline. Task and then take it offline again. It takes a while to take offline, but in that time I can pretty much go to my C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, SQL Server, and SQL, and then you can look at your data, and you can see I am taking offline my travel database, so I can see here travel MDF and travel log LDF. Travel MDF. So these are the two files that come from the database, so I should be able to take a copy of them. So both files are there. So database will go offline. That's fine. So I have copied the two files to a location. So what I can do now is to copy those two database files into the location for my appliance, which is this one. So I can copy that, go into Windows Explorer, go to that location, add those two files into the location. And you can see that those files are being copied in, and they will be compressed and added into the appliance. Once that's done, I can confirm I have now copied the data into the file system. So you can see there's 2.8 megabytes of data that I just copied into the file system. I can now then start creating checkpoints on top of that. So I can create checkpoints which allow me to make it visible to the tester. I've been playing around too much. So the DBMS server would be the server I have. The username and the password for the system. I can test that the connection works successfully. So when we test this connection, what it does is it creates a checkpoint, it creates a clone to make sure you can fully test the system, and then it'll return back saying it has all been successful, so you really can use it. So you can hit save. When you save, creates your goal copy checkpoint, it's visible to the tester. That's what this little icon indicates. It's visible to all your testers. And it's auto-attached. That's what this icon indicates, is that whenever someone creates a clone from this gold copy checkpoint, it auto-attaches to the DBS that you have just configured when you created the checkpoint. You can same way you can add more data and then create a new checkpoint, and in there you may choose for it to be manual. So you call it new checkpoint. Can't put space, sorry. New checkpoint. So it's visible to the tester, but we are selecting to manually attach it. So no DBMS configuration, none of that is in there. So I do save that. You can see that new checkpoint is visible to the tester, but not attached to a database. So if a tester would create a clone from this checkpoint, it won't auto-attach. They will get instructions on how to manually attach it. You can always, from this point, make it hide or make the checkpoint visible. So you can do that from here, and you can see that will toggle your visibility so that even when you have multiple checkpoints or hundreds of checkpoints, you have a quick way to see what's visible to testers, what's not. So you could use it as a staging and to get all your data up and ready, and then make your checkpoint visible to testers so they can create clones. You can do that across both of your file systems, and then you have multiple checkpoints available to you. that would be your job as a TDE. As a tester, and I have created 2 testers in the system. One is called Wilfred, that's for my purpose, and the other one is called Steve. So you can see to the testers, if I reload that page, you can see they have both of those checkpoints that have just been made available by the TDE visible to them. So they can choose to create clones now out of these checkpoints. As I said, this one, again, just to remind, indicates it's an auto attach. My laptop has decided. There you go. So this one indicates that you can auto attach, it's not attached. So if I do a new clone on auto attach, I coded clone 1 for my purposes as tester Wilfred, and I can create that clone. It tells me it's auto-attached my clone to the DBMS and gives me the JDBC string that I need to use so that I can copy this JDBC string and put it into the application under test, and the application now has access to the database. Same way, a tester 2 could come around, and that's my clone. A tester 2, basically called Steve, could come around, create in parallel a clone as well, call it Steve's clone. Create a second clone in parallel, and theirs will be attached to the JDBC as well and have its own entry point as well. So 2 testers could create 2 clones of that same database with minimal footprint and start testing in parallel. So both of them have full access to the database. One person's change to that database will not impact the other tester's change, so they can run every single thing in parallel if they wanted to do. So both of them have it. Steve's clone, obviously, under Steve visible, he cannot see the other tester's clones. And obviously, Wilfred, as a tester, can only see his clones. He can't see other testers' clones. As an admin, obviously, I can go to my clones, and I will see both of the testers' clones. So if I have more clones, I can see all the testers' clones in there. In future, we will provide ways to filter by tester or by creation date or by project so that as an admin, they can manage it a lot better. The admin will also be able to see which one's auto-attached, which one's not auto-attached. So if I, as a tester, now go and create a new clone from the manual attach, I can give it clone some name. You can see the details are a little bit more involved than just the JDBC string, because now with this clone, what you need to do as a tester is to go into your DBMS and attach this to your DBMS, the file system that we have provided to your DBMS. So you need a little bit more details than just the JDBC string. So that's what it's there for. In case you ever forget the details, obviously you can always go to the clones and you can hit details. It has it there. You can email it to yourself. It will send you an email to your configured user email account in the system. All that is set up so that you can run with that. As a TDE, obviously you have full view and full visibility. So what you can do is you can, if you decided to delete clones, you can delete your clones. That's the non-attached one. That's the attached one. So you can delete all of your clones. You can see details. As a TDE, obviously, just to highlight, you can see who the owner of the clone is. You can choose to email the owner with the details in case that the owner cannot get to his own clones. If there's an emergency, the TDE can send out the details for the clone so that it's easier to manage as a TDE your testers. And you can delete all of your clones. You are out. You can go back to vTDM. You can see all the clones have disappeared. There are 0 clones attached to that file system, that checkpoint. There are 0 clones attached to this checkpoint. You can choose to delete one of the checkpoints if you want. That leaves you with one of the checkpoints. You can delete a file system, keep the ongoing file system going. You can choose to delete your file system. We'll drop everything out. And you can then unregister if you ever wanted to just get rid of all your virtual machine implementation, you can unregister and it will all go away. That's pretty much for vTDM on a very quick run. Any questions?
Just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can enter them into the Q&A box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Wilfred, do you want to open it up for verbal questions at this point too, or do you have more to present?
Yeah, I have 2 more features to go through, but I just saw one thing. Yes, so if you, as a tester, delete your clone, then yes, it will also disappear from the admin's interface. The tester has the first instance of being able to control his clones. If not, I'll continue, and then we can open up again at the end if people have more questions.
Okay, great.
All right, so next one I wanted to cover was the enterprise mode for publish. So this is not a big feature, but what we wanted to do was we had a great publish engine that could provide a much improved performance on large publishers. The problem we had is that was sitting with Portal, whereas DataMaker, which was one of our earlier components, it was built for small, fast publishers, but could not handle the enterprise publishers. So we wanted to find a way to bring it together, and in 4.1, we did a preview release of this because we wanted to understand how the usability of it was and what limitations we see. With 4.2, we revamped it a little bit. We reintroduced the batch and remote mode, being able to create batch files as well so that we can actually push that feature now out into a GA mode. If I show you on our implementation, so if I go into DataMaker, you can quickly see what we have done. I've already created a connection profile. So I can log in into DataMaker. I can use the Travel E as my database. So if I wanted to publish, I can go into my publish text, created a simple publish, nothing complicated. So I can publish data pool, connect to my target database, I can include that table. So I'm not going to run the publish, but just to show. So I can publish to a data target, let's call that. So you can see that's the standard publish mode. So if Portal Publish Engine cannot understand what we are trying to submit via DataMaker, because there was some issue in how DataMaker is configured, DataMaker is a lot less strict on error handling, whereas Portal is a lot more strict on error handling. So you can see that enterprise mode is disabled because there's table missing. If I cancel that and if I chose, for example, XML, so XML, publish this to an XML file. If I did that, you can see Portal does not support publishing to XML, so therefore we don't enable the enterprise mode. But with your DataMaker, you can still carry on doing it. If you chose CSV file, we do support CSV file within Portal as well, so you can see that enterprise mode is enabled. So you can either choose immediate enterprise mode or batch enterprise mode, remote enterprise mode, same way as you have done before within Portal. Now a small pop-up extra is there to allow you to switch towards the Portal. You can put the Portal somewhere on your system. There's a configuration file that allows you to point towards the right location at the Portal. If you submit via DataMaker any of your jobs, your feedback for your job submission will come via DataMaker, so you don't need to go into Portal. You can still use DataMaker, use the publish engine on the TDM portal, and you get feedback back into your DataMaker. So you only have one place where you need to be when you're doing things. That's pretty much it. So it's a very simple implementation that we have done just to get things moving forward. One item then that I need to cover, last item, is mainframe enhancement. So a lot of the time we struggle with mainframe and how to make it simpler for customers to generate files or to do anything with it. So one of the ideas that one of our engineers came up with is to bring in DB2 to be able to shred or unshred into that. So you can then point your data maker at DB2, and it just is much easier in its way. So you can load data from file and generate data using data maker. You can then populate the batch jobs. You can do everything you want from data maker, but now uses DB2. There's not much to demo there because I have not yet managed to set up my mainframe environment. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. You can find a lot more details on our release notes. You can find a lot more information of it on our DocOps page. So at any time you can go in there and have a look. There's also instructions on the DocOps page of how to get to your appliance for vTDM, for example, and where to send an email and how to get access to that. And that's pretty much it from my side. So if you guys have any questions, it's open up. Feel free to ask.
Okay, so we'll still be taking questions in the Q&A box, but if you have any questions you'd like to ask over the phone, now's the time to do it. You can click #6 on your telephone keypad to unmute yourself. We'll pause for just a minute to let any questions come in. Okay. If there are no questions, I guess we'll wrap up for today then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It was really great to have everyone on. Thank you so much to Wilfred and Abhijit for giving the presentation today. I just put out a poll. If you could please let us know what you thought about the topic today. We welcome your feedback in planning out future sessions. Other than that, if you have any questions you think of later on, please feel free to go ahead and enter them into the community. We're constantly monitoring that space for any questions, so we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.